The following is a KPB MediaWorks production.
Choose your fighter.
Welcome to another
man.
episode of KPBCast, guys. With me today, I have Chris G. Thank you very much for being here, good sir.
It's definitely great to be here.
And before we go on, I'd just like to point it out to you guys. Remember, the show is available on Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Apple, iHeartRadio. Two of our affiliates, Acquire Clothing. Go over there, check it out. A lot of really cool stuff they do for us. And Soul to Media Art. You know, she specializes in a lot of Japanese animation, but she could actually, she's a great artist, man. She could do anything you want. Reach out to her and she'll commission something for you. But anyway, again, like I said, guys, this is Chris G, and we're gonna get into his background, what he's been up to, and what his future is. And first question, right off the bat, like I always ask everybody on this show, what was your earliest gaming memory? What's the earliest gaming recollection you could think of?
Um, Weirdly enough, I actually have a vivid memory of gaming. I remember being a kid, 3, 4 years old, and I don't know who was it, but somebody was playing Super Mario World, and it was one of the stages with the caves. It's funny that I actually remember this, but uh, I don't know. For some reason, it just stuck with me, and like I remember as a kid, just going through all the Mario games. It was actually like one of the best times of my life. And I funny enough, I didn't know when Super Mario All-Stars came out, I didn't know that there was an older version of every Mario game. And so like, I would just play All-Stars. Mario 1, Lost Levels, obviously, 2, 3. And then like I remember busting out the Nintendo and I'm like, what's this? Like this is like, you go from HD to then you go to previous version, you're like, this ain't the same game. This game sucks. I'm gonna go back to Super Nintendo.
Of course, Super Mario World. It's just like Mario 64 changed it, coming out 3D. Everybody's like, oh my God. The jump from 8-bit to 16-bit with Super Mario World, and I remember it too. It's like, geez, what a different game. Screw the older ones, man. It's like, just what a game changer it was. But growing up, and you remember that, did you have any siblings that you were maybe competitive with when it came to video gaming?
Yeah, pretty much my older brother. He's 4 years older than me. So most of the time, if my mother got something, it was either like for the family, like quote unquote, but a lot of times it was just my brother playing everything. And yeah, he used to pretty much beat me like all the time, along with my uncle. My uncle's really the one that got me into fighting games, and
Oh, really?
they would be playing Marvel's Capcom. I remember playing Mortal Kombat with them, like all sorts of fighting games, and yeah, I was just getting picked on all day.
Well, you said your uncle, he was the one that mainly introduced you to fighting games. And again, you mentioned Super Mario Worlds, obviously Super Nintendo times. Does that mean that maybe he took you out to an arcade, or did you start off with the console versions of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat?
Oh, all of it was console at first. I do have a memory of one of my uncles, bringing me to Chinatown Fair the first time. And funny enough, I didn't know how close it was. So I thought it was like going on this crazy trip to the arcade, but little did I know I'm actually in the Lower East Side of Manhattan in New York City, and right next to that is Chinatown. So I didn't know that I could just walk there. It didn't take till like years later before I was like, wait a minute, like this was right next to me the whole time. So I was playing, MK1, 2, and 3 on Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo Ultimate, Mortal Kombat, of course. And then Street Fighter came a little bit afterwards. I actually wasn't really a Street Fighter fan, so for the most part, it was just Mortal Kombat.
What was it about finding it? Well, when he introduced you to them, um, did you take to a liking to them right away, or was it just it's like it's just another video game I'm playing with my uncle? You know, we'll spar in it competitively. What was it always just fun for you then, or did you take did you start did you take it to it competitively right away? Which one was it?
I think at some point we just didn't like losing. I don't know. I don't think anybody in my family, not even my mother, liked losing. So it was just one of those things where like, if it was me and my brother playing, it didn't matter if I was 5, 6, 7, 8, freaking 2 years old, a baby. I can't even hold a controller. Like it was just one of those things. It was like, damn, I want to win. Like, especially
You
when
know, it's
I
fun.
think the bigger problem is you're getting destroyed. So like obviously no one knew how to even dodge grabs as a kid. So it was kind of like, wait, did I get grabbed? Did I not get grabbed? I don't understand what's going on. So it was just kind of like button mashing and praying to God.
And that's awesome that you came from a competitive family. I was talking to Josh 360 at the early days of this podcast, and he mentioned how important it is to have family members. In his case, it was his brother, and now you're telling me it's your cousin, even your mom, everybody. You guys just hated losing. How
Yeah,
important was
exactly.
that?
We all played.
How important was that for to train your brain, especially with video games? I mean, we're still talking about 93, 94. Here in New York, I don't think there was a big competitive scene like it was out in the West Coast. I don't remember that far back, although I should. But again, did that help out with you having a strong mind for competition in video games?
Yes, kind of actually. I think what it mainly came down to was like being made fun of and being attacked for losing, by family members and stuff. So it's like, even as a kid, which it does sound kind of depressing. Imagine just like looking down, like, yeah, you suck. You know, so at some point, I just had to like deal with it. Same thing with like competing in general, right? Like you just kind of have to just deal with it. Like, oh man, I'm about to get roasted by the internet in like 2 seconds. So yeah, I guess in a lesser sense, growing up in that environment already, it did help.
Here's a good question, and like you said, you didn't even realize Chinatown was like just down the block from you, where you could just go. Right off the bat, you say your uncle took you to Chinatown Fair. Did you experience arcades before Chinatown Fair, or was Chinatown Fair your first experience where everything, all these lights, all these sounds, the things that catch people is like, man, what the heck is going on in there? I have to go check it out. Like, what was your experience with it? Your first experiences?
I just remember. So I don't really know if my brother used to go more. Right. Again, he was 4 years older than me, so I didn't really
Right.
understand like what he was doing with his time. Um, but I just remember going there once with my uncle, and this was during the time when DDR first came out. And my brother, for some reason, he used to be like one of the first people to get the first anything. He's actually in the Xbox magazine getting the 360. He's the first person to get that.
Oh
He was the
wow,
first
that's
person to get
awesome.
the Connect. He was on the line. We were all on the line for the Engage when that dropped. I
Oh,
think I think my
oh.
god brother was like third in line or something like that. And so they were already doing their thing. I think technically we went there first to play DDR. So, I was a little scared because I like seeing all these lights and seeing people play things. I was kind of like afraid of like, oh snap, like he's kind of like having stage fright. All I
Right.
remember was going into like the corner and playing Marvel 1. Even while like Marvel 2's already out, for some reason I liked playing Marvel 1 more. So that was pretty much like what I was doing, and like, they were showing off playing DDR and stuff like that. Um but it wasn't until later on where I was like, oh snap, like okay, like let me actually try out all these games. Like this is all exciting and stuff. Like anime games, what's that? You know, playing Arcana hard for the first time. That was when like I really started to like jump out of my shell and like start playing other things. Before I was kind of like a scared little kid.
Well, around that time, I believe it was around that time, places like Broadway Arcade, bodegas stopped having arcade machines. Broadway Arcade, I believe, died around that time. I want to say maybe it was around 94, 95. So I don't know if you have any experience with them. Playland up here in Westchester was big, and they were already gone. So, I mean, you had Chinatown Fair right down the block from you. And like you said, it helped you get out of your shell. Um, excuse me. With when you started going there by yourself, I guess did you how can I word this? It's basically when you started going there by yourself, and like you said, you wanted to start getting a little bit more competitive with everybody because I mean, by all means, this is a competitive environment. I'm sure you did. You ever did you ever collide with the big names of Chinatown Fair in your early days with it, like Justin Wong, Yipes, Sanford, and all the
Yes.
boys?
Um, they were still like to me. I didn't know the scene. All right, so like I didn't know who mattered. Right, I guess quote unquote mattered. Right.
Right.
So like just going over there and really learning CVS2, really learning Third Strike and whatnot. Um, I would see like these guys come through, and a lot of times it's funny too because even even growing up, they still had like their own little like entourages. They still had their own little cliques. So I would see Justin roll through. I'd see Noel, Yipes, Remix, EMP Remix Nelson, which was my roommate at one point. He passed away. So I saw a lot of those guys, and yeah, it was bad when they stepped on the machine, and if I was playing something, it was a disaster. Like I just got destroyed without. And the worst part is like it. It is one of those uh things where you expect it to happen, where like they just really just don't care. They're like just beating you, and I'm like trying my hardest just to take a round. It just wasn't happening. Like,
You mentioned cliques and groups and everything like that, and we've had quite a few people on here, and I'm glad you mentioned it. When you started venturing out there by yourself, and you sort of hit on it, but was it a welcoming environment? Because I've had people tell me it wasn't. I've had people tell me it has. I went over to Chinatown Fair. I have I just tended to ignore it. I was there to play some KOF. Everything else that was going on was as auxiliary for me. But how about you? Uh, like, did you feel tension, or it's like, oh, this group, doesn't want to hang out with this group or anything like? What did you feel? Did you feel like it was a welcoming environment?
I'm gonna be completely honest.
That's what we're here for.
And this is going to Chinatown Fair for years. I was pretty much the kid that didn't have nowhere else to go, so Chinatown Fair was the spot. And yeah, no, it was probably one of the most toxic environments I've ever been in. In fact, it the the real reason I even jumped out of my shell was because of how toxic it was. When I first started going to Chinatown Fair, I still was that kid in the shell. I wanted to just mind my business, put on my headphones and play the games. Like I wasn't really there to make friends because not to mention the guys were like, I mean, let's be honest, 5 to 10 years older than me. So as a kid in high school, finally learning, oh snap, like, oh, I'm 15, I'm 16 years old. I'm like, I finally have a grasp of how to anti-air with Ryu, right? And yeah, like there was bullying literally everywhere. The only reason
Wow.
I couldn't learn KOF was because they would take out knives on people. Um, puzzle all puzzle games, right, which is pretty much Puzzle Fighter. Like they had the old guys. You pretty much just couldn't play because yeah, you'd get destroyed. Um, a lot of threats, and it, like I said, just pretty much basic bullying. Like I have
Wow.
my my stories with Empire Arcadia itself, and of course it just wasn't really good times. Um, and then I started to realize like, oh snap, like I need to fight back, like as a person, like as my own being, and that's what pretty much made me like take off my headphones. And like that's why they have those pictures of me. Like, so before I have these headphones, right? They're on my
Yeah.
head. Growing up, this was on my head 24/7. You couldn't take it off. Like, I kid you not. Like, you could be talking to me, I just don't care. Um After Chinatown Fair, that's when I started wearing it. So it's because I realized what was going on around me, and it was just in general, it was just a really, really bad environment. Of course I have good memories, but
Of course, yes, of course. Not everything is
I
negative.
I'm yeah, but it didn't really have to be that way. There was a lot of betrayal. There was a lot of fighting. I remember, just having literally to fight outside of uh of the actual Chinatown Fair, where people were coming up with rumors and stuff like that. And it just it was really weird. Like, and I actually talked about this just the other day where I was like, there were so many people. People talk about, oh, oh, you think, things is bad now, like you should see back then, or things ain't real now. Things were realer back then. I'm like, no,
Right.
you were just all bullies. Like there was a big, and of course there was a big difference between being competitive and feeling macho about beating somebody, and then the whole other aspect of it, which is attacking people for being bad, or attacking people for not fitting in, or attacking people because you think they're weird. That was what was really going on. And of course, people are gonna lie and stuff like that, but I lived it, and I seen at least 100 people come and go from Chinatown Fair, and like they were like, I can't take it.
What made you keep going back? You said it yourself. Knives being pulled on people, betrayal, lying, rumors, you name it all. Was it because you knew gaming was definitely part of your life, and this is what you wanted to do? This is where you were able to open up.
Yes and no. Of course, growing up, all I did was play video games. I didn't really experience the real world because I didn't really get that opportunity. So, I just would go to school, right? Elementary school, middle school, and then of course I finally hit high school, and I wanted to finally like develop my own identity. And so that was when I actually started to go out, visiting the other boroughs and stuff like that. And at like at that point
Was
in
it
high
the
school,
New
that was
York
when
City crime that didn't let you experience the real world?
no, no, no. It was
Talking.
just one of those things where life just wasn't great. And
Okay.
in high school, that's when it got really, really bad. And so I've mentioned this a few times. I used to get kicked out of my house and just wander the streets for like 10 hours at a time, just literally walking, like not knowing what to do. So
Video games were
with a
your
few
ultimate
dollars,
companion, right?
yes. So with a few dollars, and of course, this is me playing, GameCube. This is me playing, Super Nintendo, all those games, and I at that point, like, I would just lose my life in it because I didn't know anything else. So with every little dollar that I started getting, even when I started working, I would just go to Chinatown Fair and just spend my time there. What kept me staying though was, I guess, long story short, something bad really happened. And it was like one of those moments where I realized I can't be the same person that I am. I was very cold. I was very standoffish. I didn't want to deal with people at all, because I felt like, again, growing up, like people were bad. And even though I still pretty much think that way, sometimes you have to deal with things. And when that specific bad thing happened in my life, I I told myself that I will never suck. I will never fail again. And I promised the person, like, at some point, like I've been doing this like for a few years now, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm not gonna lose again. And that was it. Like, then it became like this, I guess, just this weird goal of me wanting to beat these people down. Like, it was like a vendetta. And like at some point, I thought it was impossible, but like because of that bad experience, I realized that maybe I'm just thinking wrong. Maybe I'm learning the game wrong. Maybe I need to start X copying people. And that's what people used to call me at some point. I was 12. I used to watch people and I used to just mimic everything they did. And I started stealing everybody's stuff, everybody's skills, everybody's combos. Like, obviously you're not on the internet, so I would just watch people for hours and just literally copy everything they did, to the point where they couldn't beat me anymore. So I would beat people with their own stuff all day. And um yeah, like I started to take my skill. I started finally going outside. And 2010 was the first time I went to a major, which was NEC. And
Oh,
that
we'll
was where I
get to
fought
that.
Justin in grand finals. Yeah, I fought Justin in grand finals, and then boom, like that was the start of like Chris G.
Let me ask you a question, just rewinding back a little bit. You mentioned that you were, you were a completely closed person, and obviously Chinatown Fair was therapy for you. It helped you opened up because this is what you wanted to do. This is why you loved video gaming. And again, if you don't mind me asking, did you hate that part of your life when you were completely closed minded, where you didn't want nobody around you? That's the kind of vibe I got. Did you hate your life during that time? Or did you hate the way life was
N-
going? That, like you said, there's a lot
Yes,
of bad
that's
people.
that's pretty much it. During that time, I didn't really have faith in a lot of things, and I thought at some point, like I was just gonna be like another statistic. Just work a job, just have kids, just like I said, just go through life.
Right.
And like
You
I
basically
wanted
thought you were
more.
going to go through life without no goals or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted more. And I hated the fact that I didn't have more. I hated the fact that, my family didn't have more. I hated the fact that, like, oh snap, like this is it for me. Like I I wanted more everything. And that's
Did
it.
you
Like
have
it
a
just it just transformed me.
before Chinatown Fair closed and you were there, you saw everything happening. You started opening up, like we said. Was there anybody in there who influenced you to open up more, to be a student of video games, to be a student of competitive gaming? Did anybody help you out in your journey there while you were going over to Chinatown Fair all that time?
Um,
No, he's laughing, folks.
yes,
Here we go.
yes. There was a guy. Um, he believed in me actually, and he thought that I really could be the best. Like
Was
legit,
it
he just
Eddie
really
Lee?
just
Because
thought
he
it.
influenced. Was it Eddie Lee? Because he influenced everybody. It seems at Chinatown Fair.
No. At that point, I was disliked by almost all the big guys. So I never hung out with those guys like once. Um, but there was a guy that believed in me so much and saw how fast I could learn anything, that he put that to the test. So at that point I was pretty much broke, right? And he would fund me. He would fund me like a sponsor, like a ghetto sponsor. He would fund me. Even afterwards, he'd buy me McDonald's. There's a few people that, like, that could back up that story. It became like our own little weird click. And yeah, he pretty much gave me money to play Third Strike. He pretty much gave me money to play CVS2. He pretty much gave me. He even wanted to see if I could be good in rhythm games. So he would fund me to play DDR, and I became so good so fast. I switched to ITG, which is the pretty much 3 times faster game than DDR, and so he was giving me money there, and like just my skill level just started increasing by like an insane amount, and I became again like faster than everybody. I started beating everybody and everything. We even moved in together at one point because he helped me escape my living situation. Um, it just so happened that he became envious of me, and when I started
Oh boy.
winning my first few tournaments, he robbed me of thousands of dollars, and then he
Before.
tried to blame my ex, and then boom, like
Wow.
yeah, it was bad.
You
It
gotta
was
you
bad.
gotta love it, right? You gotta love it. Your manager screws everybody over, kind of like Don King did to Mike Tyson. But
Right?
before
Exactly.
you started, you mentioned that 2010 you started going to big E events, and that's when you met Justin's and grand finals. But before that, were you able, thanks to the person you're talking about, did you travel to any of the places that were holding tournaments at Arcades, like Eight on the Break, or was it all specifically just Chinatown Fair? Did you ever travel anywhere outside that area?
No. He At that point, like it pretty much became Chinatown Fair, but I was working on real life as well.
Right.
Even though he might have been a bad person at the end of the day, uh, I felt like his intentions at the time was to try to get me ready for the real world. And like I remember wearing my first suit and stuff like that, working. I remember getting my first phone, right? I remember getting the
Was
first
it a
Droid when that came out.
was it a
So
BlackBerry or a Sidekick? What was your first phone?
oh, it was a flip phone. It was garbage. But my first real phone was the Droid.
Yeah, right.
When you turn
Oh,
it
that
on,
was
it
like the
goes
best thing ever.
Droid. Yeah, it was the coolest thing ever. And so while learning the video games, I started to get a taste of like um real things, like real life. And you know, even though I wanted to compete and whatnot, I felt like this was good for now. So
Right.
before 2010, before my first Big E major, I kind of was just like, all right, I'm just gonna go, try to live in the
Well,
real world.
this is a time where you couldn't make gaming a career, right? Basically what you're getting at.
Yeah, I was winning like Third Strike Hustle tournaments. That didn't mean anything. So I was just like,
$100
all right,
grand prize.
whatever happens. Freaking like $50,
When Chinatown Fair closed, what did you feel? You gained a lot of experience there, just like you told us. That's where basically you gained your skills. That's where you cut your teeth. When it closed, what did you feel? Did you feel what a lot of us felt, that part of you was just completely taken away, part of your soul is gone? Take us through
A
that.
100%, 100%. Again, that was kind of the place I called home almost. Like so I would wake up in my regular place, and I'd go to school or go to work, and then boom, right afterwards, Chinatown Fair until night. So if I was going to school, 12 o'clock, I'd come out, right? Boom, straight to Chinatown Fair. And this is even
Right.
going from high school. All right. So boom, 3 o'clock. I ain't got nowhere else to go. Chinatown Fair. So all the way from then till closing. And
Wow.
yeah, it pretty much was my second home. And
Wow.
it sucked to see that gone because of, like, I'm saying silly, but obviously it's the real world. Silly things like rent, a lease, increase in money, like, and
Right,
the
right,
guy was
right,
just
right.
like, I'm not gonna do this. But that
Before,
was a staple in a lot of people's
of course,
lives.
especially in New York City. I mean, that was the place to go. And trust me, you're not the only one who basically after high school or even after you go home, let me go have dinner so that way I could run out right back to Chinatown Fair. There were a lot of people who did that. So it really was by all means the primary home for a lot of players, for a lot of people, even rhythm gamers, because it wasn't just the FGC in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned Big E Gaming 2010. Were you aware of um, the offline scene, as we call it now? Were you aware that these things were happening? Because again, Biggie had been doing that for quite a few years. Were you aware of them, and did you ever try to reach, find ways? No, excuse me. Did you ever wanted to travel out to them before 2010, or or was 2010 the first time you said to yourself, you know what? Let me go out to one of these events to see what I could do.
Um, hmm. I
I
I
mean,
knew
because
I knew
obviously
that there
the
were bigger
internet wasn't
events.
as big as it is now. So,
Yeah, I
like, what kind
knew
of
I knew
info
that there
what did you
were.
know about them?
I knew about SRK,
Oh, of course, the
and
website.
and I knew about the forums and stuff, and people talking about these big events and blah 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 blah. I don't really know why I wasn't like truly interested in going to these things, but I guess I just for like that time being, I just wanted to be like that local guy, that random guy at Chinatown Fair, the scrub or
Right.
whatever people wanted to call me. I guess, like, when I started to really get to know the Third Strikes scene at the time, I started to get cool with them for the time being, and they were like, "Hey, like, we're going to this event in Philly," and I was like, "Oh snap!" I've never been to Philly, never been to New Jersey, I never been to any of this stuff, and I guess at that point, that's when I started to go, you know what, like, I think I'm ready, and I'm ready to see different places.
Right.
I never been outside New York, so how the hell was I supposed to know? But I guess just at that moment, I took advantage of the situation.
How'd you get down there via Megabus, or did somebody drive with you?
I'm trying to think. Was it a? I don't truly recall, but I'm going to say bus. Um, I remember riding in like a trunk a few times. So of like someone's car.
What's the matter?
But
The roof was taken up by everybody's arcade sticks.
I mean, look, if you knew somebody with a car, oh man, by all means, fit into any hole. That's pretty much what it was.
Oh no, trust me. When I used to drive down there, it's like, wait, is Raph going? Okay, cool. Can I get a ride? All right, man, come on. It saves you that freaking long ride from that bus. But you basically take the nice little 3.5 hour, 4.5 hour ride, whatever it is on the bus. You get to the wherever it is that he was holding it, and boom, you see the grand stage first, or the main ballroom. I'm pretty sure he had arcade machines at the time, a lot of Street Fighter 4 consoles, and you just see a lot of like-minded people. Like I'm sure you see a lot of Chinatown Fair players there, but also I'd imagine you see a heck of a lot of East Coast players, Baltimore, Delaware, even Boston.
Yeah.
You know, what were you thinking right there when you basically get there and you see all this? It's like, what was going through your mind?
To sum it up, I guess, like, damn it, is this a full weekend of this? like, like, because a lot of times, and from that moment on, before that, I
Right.
didn't. everything was one day. You know, like I knew about the big tournaments, but I didn't actually think to myself, "Oh snap!" Like, wait, like I actually gotta we're gonna go to sleep and then come wake back up and then continue it. You
Did,
know what I mean? Like it was just like a
did
brand
I
new
bring enough
experience for me.
underwear?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're like, oh, damn it! I think I might have to hit up a store or something. You know, like what do we
How
gotta
many people
eat,
you got
man?
stuck? How many people you got stuck with in the room your first night there? How many
I'm
snores?
actually
Come on, let's
not
talk
too
that.
sure. Oh no, that you know, I think I don't really have an experience, a memory of that because of how many rooms I've been in that I mean that were just memorable. So yeah, it gets pretty bad, man. It gets pretty bad, especially when people start snoring or like people cracking out all the way till like 6 in the morning. Waking
Actually,
everybody up, stepping on heads, like.
I was actually about to ask you that again. This is your first time, and we just mentioned, people cracking out until 6 in the morning. When their top eight or whatever starts at 10. Were you one of the people who basically took in as much as you could with this? Did you stay up like late into the night playing games with people, playing sets, seeing new, maybe even meeting new people from different states? What was your experience like that weekend?
Earlier on, I actually didn't do that too much. Because probably up until the release of Marvel 3 Vanilla,
Yeah.
like when I would just go to tournaments, it would just be like me doing my thing. Again, like I wasn't I was still new to this. And even though, me and the Third Strike guys would talk crap, it was kind of like, all right, what can I do? What can I do? Like, a lot of these guys been doing this for years, and I'm just like this new guy that's like, all right, I guess for now, I'll just, sleep at a semi decent time, like 2 o'clock or something, and then yeah, like take it from there. Um, it wasn't until like years later where I was just like, oh snap, like, or maybe just even a year later, 2 years later, where I'm like, I'll go to sleep at like 11 a.m. That was when I just started like going like full ham on just trying to be the best of everything.
Um, the first night, and again, going back to the first weekend, considering what you said earlier, and now you're seeing a whole bunch of new faces, because again, this isn't just the same 20 or 30 people from Chinatown Fair. Did you maybe have some reservations about you wanted to go back into your shell because it's a whole bunch of people that you've never met? Or were you completely relaxed the entire weekend?
I think that was the first time I saw how raw the FGC was. People just screaming, going ham, and just everyone's talking crap and cursing each other out, and money matches and all sorts of stuff. And I'm just like, do I got the confidence for all this right now? Like, do I have this in me to like become a monster? You know. So at the time, I was just like, all right, you know what? I'll talk my crap and whatnot, but I was more known to be a troll instead of like being like the East Coast guy that's about to rip you a new one. I would taunt people and stuff like that. So that was what I did. I took my shots in my own little way. I didn't actually like scream in someone's face.
I hope nobody brought out a knife on you because of that.
Well, Chinatown Fair, that's a whole different story. I got threats like 24/7. But yeah, no, it's actually weird because even though it was a lot more ham, it seemed way more friendly in a weird sense because you know a lot of Chinatown Fair was standoffish guys, and or maybe it's because again maybe they were like me, or they just wanted to be left alone, or like they had a hard day, a hard every day, and um yeah, I think maybe that might have been the reason. But
It,
the major, my first major, it was like everyone seemed to know exactly what they were doing. Everyone seemed to already have a goal. Everyone seemed to have their weekend planned. And I think that's what I like the most. It was a better experience than, just sitting in Chinatown Fair freaking, just minding my business and stuff. I was like, oh snap, like maybe if I actually got to know one of these guys.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it was more friendly because, again, arcades were gone, and now you're all getting together in this one big event that encompasses the entire East Coast? And I'm sure, like you said, some people were probably there with their cliques, with their with their groups, but but just the amount of people who were there to have fun, because again, this is our hobby. We're not here for problems. We're not here, even though we may be aware of some stuff going on, because it does happen. Do you think that's why it was more friendly? Is that why you probably found that it's like, I have more fun here than I did during CF, because everybody here is like-minded. Everybody, I'm here with my hobbies. Excuse me, I'm here enjoying the hobby I like, but at the same time, I want to have fun. I don't want to get into trouble with anybody. Is that it?
Maybe. Like I think besides like going there as a new experience, and going to all these other tournaments as new experiences, it felt good to finally be able to showcase my skills to like a
Right.
general audience. I think that was what I liked the most. Because remember, I said that I had made myself and another person a promise, and I said I wasn't gonna lose. And it was that moment, like that weekend, where I was like, okay, this is the first real experience, like being outside of my element. Like it's do or die. Like at that point, I didn't know when the next time I would do something. So I guess I just brought my A game, and Street Fighter 4, I did all right, I think. But
Hmm.
Third Strike, which was the game I was really playing, I ended up getting second. And even though Justin pretty much destroyed me, in a weird sense, it made me feel good because, like, oh snap, like I did it. Like, I showed everybody what I've been doing in this arcade for the past couple of years.
Right.
And my
Right.
first major, I get second, and then I remember Justin. Uh, I still have it. He gave me his trophy, and like he actually wrote on. He signed it. He wrote on it, and he was like, he said, "Keep on trolling." Yeah, it was really weird. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, I guess, at that point. Um, but he gave me the trophy, and even though I didn't win, I felt like I did. And it
I
like
understand. Yeah.
I guess it just brought out that fire where I was like, damn, my first event second? Like,
You, you know
what's
what it
stopping
is?
me from getting first? You know,
I think,
like,
is it because, like you said, you put blood, sweat, and tears into training all those years, and for you to come out to a big event like that and get second, that's what it probably was, right? Like all the effort that you've done all those years, and it's like
yep,
it paid off. It was not first place, but you know what? Second place at a big tournament, it was worth it.
exactly. And then that was it. Boom. I wanted to go everywhere. And that's when I started doing the the Road Warrior, where I would go to like 3, 4 tournaments a week and just try to just take it all every day nonstop. I refuse to stop.
Let me ask you this, just to kill off the first big event history of you. You know, you're coming from New York. You're venturing out from your comfort zone, and like you said, you get second place in Street Fighter. I believe you said you won Marvel 3 as well. I mean,
Well,
take
and
us through the. I'm sorry.
not at that 20. I don't think Marvel came out yet for that
Okay,
event.
okay.
So it was my first big event with Marvel. Um, I think it was CEO or Winter Brawl. I'm not too sure. I forgot which one, but that was when I was playing Marvel and MK. That was when MK9 had come out.
Well, regardless, going back to the Big E thing, you're in grand finals with Justin, and take us through your mindset, because a lot of us will never experience this, as much as we all want to have careers as fighting game players or in any kind of gaming community. Take us through your experience of being top eight. Walking to those chairs with a whole crowd right behind you, screaming, cursing. Some people are for you, some people aren't for you. You're going up against Justin Wong, one of the all-time greats in this hobby of ours. I mean, what's going through your mind when you see? Obviously, you say, I made it, but right before then, like I said, just seeing this stage and you're dead front in front of it.
Well, for some reason, I already had it in my head that I was gonna get absolutely demolished. Like and coming from uh Chinatown Fair and already having played Justin, he could play one hand and beat me. So
Was your stomach turning? Was it scary? I mean,
no,
again, it's
I
your.
I decided to kick it into overdrive and I just started playing nonsense. It was more like a comedy show than a serious match. And Justin kind of knew what I was doing. Like, because I was playing Sean. Like Sean
The
against
worst
Sean
character in
Lee.
the game.
So I was known as Pink Sean. And I'm doing my best, and my best was not even close.
I laugh with you, but at the same time, I get it, because for whatever reason, I always like playing Sean in the Third Strike series. I have no
Yeah,
idea why, even though
exactly.
I know he was like just bottom tier in Third Strike.
Uh, there was uh, there was a moment where he I'm not sure he picked Sean in that one, but there was a funny moment between me and him where I parry something and I try to go for fierce uppercut, and Sean can't do it. It whiffs. Then he goes for fierce uppercut, and it whiffs. So I think it was just one of those moments where you're like, wow, like the character select screen could not be worse in my life. Like, I think I picked Elena. Like, I I didn't know what else to do, so I just made it a goddamn cartoon and boom. But I will say though that even though I got absolutely washed, I had fun. I had fun knowing that at this moment, like I was so far from Justin's skill that
Right.
like it it was funny to think about. Like, wow, okay, I haven't played Justin in like a year or two. At that point, I actually don't remember, but look at it. It was like I felt like it was just that day. So there was still so much more to learn. So even though I'm getting demolished and laughing and making a joke about it, I'm like, wow, like he's the real deal. And even though he's not like fully taking it serious, because obviously he could have just, all right, I'm Chun-Li,
Of
die.
course.
You know,
Is it easy to be in awe of him, of how talented he is at fighting games?
yes, at that time, when playing Street Fighter 4, even between him and like Dominion, they were, to me personally, they were so great that I didn't think I could reach their level.
Right.
So, at that moment, again, years later, boom, I'm in grand finals with this guy, and it was as if I never left Chinatown Fair. So it was like I made myself like another promise. I was like, you know what? Like, okay, I may be the best at my arcade, but now that really don't mean anything. Like now I gotta be the best in the world. Like, and that was when I started taking Street Fighter 4 serious. Marvel 3 and MK, and I'm like, I have to reach that. Like this is true greatness.
You mentioned something, and I love that you brought that up. You said, you know what? I know I'm the best at my arcade. And with this experience that you had at that Big E event, you decided, you know what? I want to take it to the next level. I know I could do good. If I did good against Justin, even though you knew, like you said it yourself, he was just playing around. You knew you could reach that level. Not many players in this scene, and a lot of and a lot in the gaming scene in general, but since we're only talking about FGC, not a lot of people like taking that leap. You did. Have you ever in your travels ever talked to anybody that may be the best in their town and maybe had a chat with them? And it's like, why had you're good enough, why can't you just take that next step? Does it take a stronger mindset to do that, to basically, I mean, going back to you, you're a world traveler. Video games, fighting games have taken you across the globe. Like, what kind of mindset do you need to say, I'm gonna get out of this arcade. I'm gonna, get out of Philly, New York, Florida, whatever, and I want to travel because I know I'm good enough to do this. Take us through that.
Man, I felt like, okay, so that moment happened, and yeah, you did mention like a lot of other people best in their scenes, and why didn't they do the same thing? After going to Jersey and Philly and Maryland and whatnot, uh, when I would see these players, like especially in the tri-state area, especially in Jersey and Philly, it did to me feel like the better I got, the divide got bigger. And, of course, I learned a lot of things from all these guys, because at that point, I was just what? I was just 20 years old, 21, and stuff like
Right.
that. And, a lot of these guys, they were still like 4 or 5 years older than me, so they played Guilty Gear. And I'm like, that game for Dreamcast? You know what I mean? And, so they were already used to this environment. But I noticed that a lot of them, they, again, I could be wrong, but it felt like they weren't doing this to be the best in the world. I think being the best in their area and having that pride, like, oh man, I'm the best in my arcade, right? The same thing as me. I'm the best
Right.
in Philly. I'm the best so and so character user. I'm the best, like, and in
Right.
my head
Right.
I'm
Right.
like, that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm the best swaggy combo guy. I'm the best anti-error on this side of the planet. I'm like, what about the other side of the planet? You know what I mean? Like to me, I had that drive because I felt like at that moment in my life, I had nothing else to lose. It was do or die, and at that moment I was like, well, let's just see how far I go. Like,
Right.
if I have to, again, I'll work other jobs. If I have to, I'll do this, I'll do that. But at that moment, I didn't have to do any of that. So, you know, um,
Let me
Marvel
let me
3.
ask you this. Let me ask you this because you brought it up. Is it because let's take it like it's a scale? Is it because some of those people they try to make gaming a career, but unfortunately, life is up here and gaming is down here. Whereas with you, gaming is up here and real life was still down here. You still haven't gotten up there. Is that why maybe they couldn't just take that jump and you were able to?
I don't know people's situations, living situations. A lot of people I talk to, they grew up, especially like outside of New York, because if you were an Empire, I'm gonna be real, you had problems. Like, that's it. Just for a lack. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. You had problems. All right. I felt like everybody was sick in their minds. Um, sick in the mind, and like outside of that, I don't know. To me, it felt like people had lives. People had cars. What the hell's a car? Like, people, they grew up in a house. A lot of these people, they had parents that said I love you every day. Like,
They're
it was
not
just one of
loners.
those. Yeah, exactly. So to me, to me and again, a lot of other East New York, I'm not gonna say East Coast because East Coast is a broad term. It
Yes.
was New York. Like, let's be real, it was New York. um
No, you know what? You're absolutely right because East Coast, it's almost kind of like West Coast as well. People say West Coast, but we know it was just a certain part of Cali. Here in the East
exactly, it was
Coast,
California.
yeah,
um
yeah. Here in the East Coast, it's basically New York because I mean, outside of Toronto, and I know the Buffalo Chacha, he had a really good scene up there, and he runs a great scene. But between Buffalo and New York, there was nothing else. I mean, I can't think of much of a big FGC scene like in Boston or Connecticut. You're absolutely right. It was mainly New York
I,
City in
I
this case.
yeah, I think I used like my hate and my frustration and my rage, and I just channeled it into, a weird sense, like positivity in gaming. Like
Right,
you said, the scale, right? Gaming, it in fact was this, because I honestly, I didn't care. I didn't care about life at this point. When I used to wander the streets, 10 hours would go by and I've accomplished literally nothing. Life has moved on and I was still stuck in time. And,
right.
while walking, it was like, you know what? Whatever happens to me, I don't even care. I used to walk in alleyways because, and again, like, I was so ready to fight. I was so ready to attack. I was so ready, to just lash out. And what better way to do that than to beat someone up in a video game? So why not travel to New Jersey and beat them up? And travel to Philly and beat them up. And I don't know, man. It sounds depressing as hell, but like, I found
No. We're
that
enjoying this, man. I'm
I,
sure
I
Steve's on
found
the other
that
side
power,
laughing and just enjoying this as well.
and I know a lot of the other New Yorker guys, freaking, Empire Arcadia. Like, I'm pretty sure if you ask a lot of them, that scale was definitely tipped. It was pretty bad.
I'll ask about something about that scale later on because you're a very good person to ask, but that's going to be a little bit later. So, big event happens, excuse me, and now you decide you want more of this. Were you 100% set on this is what you were going to do? Or did you still have a little bit of like, you know what, let me just slow it down. I had a lot of good times that weekend. Maybe I still don't want to do this 100%, but you're a gamer, gaming up here. Were you 100% set that this is what I'm going to do with my life? This is what I want to dedicate the next few years of my life, traveling the country and taking people, taking tournaments in Jersey and maybe at Georgia or wherever. Take us through that.
Okay, so during that time, I was working. I would take any job I could get. I was literally Papa John's, freaking Jacob Javits Center, call center. That was the worst of my life.
I heard those are some awful
Dunkin'
jobs, man.
Dunkin' Donut. Yeah, it was literally for ex-convicts, and an ex-convict introduced me to that job. Yeah, it was literally that. Um, so I was just a hustler, man. I took anything, and while having uh my first real experience with the FGC as a whole, you know, that was great and all, but I was like, look, I need money. So it wasn't up until Marvel 3 came out and MK9 came out where, you could even ask my best friend at the time, right? Jimmy P, wonderful guy. He had the game. At that point, I didn't even have an Xbox. Yeah, I didn't own one. So he was like, "Yo, like, let's just crack it out. What's the worst that could happen?" I'm like, whatever." And I always say this. The the actual thing that brought me there, if they're listening, they know who to hit up. Little Caesars. He told me we could get Little Caesars, some chips, soda, and crack it out. And I was like, you know what? Because I lived at that point. I think I was living in Brooklyn, and he was living in the Bronx. So
That's not that far.
I mean, so I was like, you know what? I really don't want to go up there. And he was like, Little Caesars, man. I'm like, all right, let's go. And boom, we cracked out on Marvel 3. And the weird thing is, to me, the game sucked. At that time when we first got it at Chinatown Fair, that game I thought was awful. And then, after cracking out, I realized one important thing. You could actually play whatever character you wanted. So
Right.
to me, I have never thought that in my life. Like, wait a minute. I could kill you with a dog? Like, I could do a combo and destroy you? There's this guy, Wesker. I was like, I know him as the villain of Resident Evil 1. You know what I mean? Like, you're telling me I could kill you with that guy? And he doesn't have to have a tri-dash? So to me, that was, I thought, like, at that exact moment, I was like, wait a minute, this might even out the playing field.
Right.
Creativity will actually even out the playing field. Up until that moment, that didn't exist. Up until
Oh no,
that
trust me, man.
literal moment.
Trust me.
Street Fighter
I love
4.
playing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love playing Marvel 2, but I mean, I love the scene. But let's be honest, the game is basically dominated by 8 characters. Marvel 3, and I believe it was King Blue River. Listen, a lot of people will agree with him. A lot won't. Mainly a lot of Marvel 2 players, but Marvel 3 is a way more creative game than Marvel 2. The engine allows it. So trust me, I get that. But wait a minute, time out. Before we go on, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get any sponsorship from Little Caesars, but man, why Little Caesars? I can't stand Little Caesars, man. Why was that your crack?
damn. Look. When you've reached the lowest of the low,
Yeah,
you
I
only
knew you were
got
gonna
one
say that.
person to call your friend. All right, only one company is out there looking out for you. Actually, two if you count Top Ramen. But
You know what? Add checkers to that. I like checkers.
oh, I didn't know that even existed back then. And
Oh, good.
McDonald's and Burger King was like a luxury. All right, like
Can't beat a five
I
dollar pie, right?
yeah, like yo, you really only got $5? You could have an entire meal, lunch and dinner. That's great. Come on, man. Come on, you know he's looking out for you, man. The
I
little
know.
guy with the stick, he's looking
Yeah.
out for you.
He's like in the little caveman outfit, isn't he? No, no, no. Yeah, whatever the heck he is. Oh,
He was
that's
like
funny, man.
a caveman Roman, like
Yes, he was. With a little pitchfork.
exactly. He was a broke fighter. That's what he was, man.
Yes, he was. Early pizza maker. But anyway, wow. So again, now you decided to take this full. Well, did you quit your job right away? You said it yourself. You still had a job, but you needed money, and you
Yes.
realized, man, I could. Actually, that's a good segue because around this time, fighting games, they blew up. Street Fighter 4 came with a big boom in the fighting game community. And with that came a lot of tournaments. I mainly play MK9, and we all know how big MK9 was. We're talking about almost for a while there. Weekends were at a premium. Were you Did you quit your job right away, or did you play it cool at the beginning?
So that moment in that room with my friend learning combos, I don't know if it was like 2 days later or a week later. Actually, it was probably less than a week. He was like, "Hey, there's a tournament at this random spot. Like, you want to go?" I'm like, "Oh man, we've been cracking out. Let's see." And that tournament, I won.
Right.
I think I had won like 8 or 9 tournaments in a row, which is unheard of for like some random guy to come up out of nowhere that's not Justin Wong.
Right.
And
That's true.
a new game where everyone is on the same playing field. Like I made in a couple weeks more money than I made in a couple months
Wow.
of working minimum wage, just being depressed.
Again,
So
that
at that
that that
moment,
screams.
goodbye. Like
Yeah. Again, though, that screams about that boom, and you were right in the middle of it, taking advantage. It got you, like you said, minimum wage, which I think in New York at the time was still like $8 or something like that, maybe even
at
nine.
7:15, if I'm
Oh, was that
correct.
low still? Wow, jeez, 7.15. Jesus Christ. Can we get $15 back then? But anyway,
You see,
but
that's what
again,
I
you
mean.
you
Little
bet.
Caesars, yo, that was less than an hour of work. You see, man, you messing up.
But this is now a turning point for you. You and your buddy is like, cool, let's go. You won 9 tournaments in a row. Were they mainly local, like to the tri-state, or did you
Yep.
venture out past Jersey? Okay, so
So
what
so
was?
the break, uh, the break. There was that tournament. damn, 8-bit and up. There you go on St. Mark's.
Yes.
And it was just a hole in the wall. Literally hole in the wall place.
Right.
You know, the guy, I guess he decided to run tournaments, and that was it. Like that was my big break. Like a hole in the wall making, $300, $400, and I was like, wait a minute, like I could keep getting $300, $400 if I really, really try. And yeah, like me and my
And you
me and
know
my
what?
friends, we'd get abandoned like places, and we didn't care. We were just like, yo, let's just keep going, man. Like buy more food.
And
Like maybe we don't got to get Little Caesars.
you guys had Next Level in Brooklyn, which was the spot. It's so by all means living in New York, which is sometimes something a lot of other communities wish, they had as big a scene as we did back then, the boom. We're talking about weekly tournaments all the time, and it was a great time. And to your advantage, you took full advantage of that. Not only that, but you also had a big group of players, because like you said, these new games came out. Now everybody's on an even playing field. You can't be a 10-year veteran taking advantage of a first day player because, oh, I know all these glitches from whatever it is, how long it took to develop this game. But again, you took full advantage, and God bless you. Is that also another thing where having that much competition also helps you level up? Because I'm sure you went in there with some sort of cockiness, some swag. It's like, well, I'm Chris G. I do this for a career now. Did you influence any up and coming players during this time? Where I want to be like Chris G. This is a time now where I want to make this a career like he is.
Again, this was one of those like unheard of things where it's just like some guy literally comes out of nowhere and essentially takes your money.
Right.
Like at that point, it became jokes where like I'm here to, collect my rent money, which in a weird sense, yeah, that was why I was there. I was there to get a freaking pay my rent, get a nicer place. I was there to, make more money. I was there to show literally zero mercy, just go ham, and that's it. So, at that point it was like I would talk to a lot of other players, and a lot of them I still talk to like every now and then. And mind you, these guys were guys who never would have thought they had a shot.
Right.
Like if you weren't Justin and friends, you were nobody. And to a certain degree, that was kind of true. Like you didn't exist.
Oh,
So
that's true.
Marlon Pie, like Demon Heel, all those guys in Philly, and the Jersey guys, right? Like, yeah, they were names, but like it still really was just about Justin and them just winning everything. And
Did that bother
yeah,
you guys that it was like that?
well, I know there was definitely a lot of envy, and even then, like, yeah, I could say I envied that too. Like because of course he put in a lot of work, but like in my head I was like, I want that. Like I want to be able to just roll up somewhere and just sit. Like again, like the way he beat me at NEC, I wanted to get to a point where I could do that to other people.
Right.
And again, like Justin was that guy to look up to, where you're like, holy crap, why does he make it look so easy? Like even when Street
Right.
Fighter
Right.
4 came out, right? He was just that guy that was just
Yeah.
like him and Ricky, just slapping people left and right. Like
Oh yeah. At the beginning of Street Fighter 4 in this country, me and another team member, AJ, we put together a little list, and it's incredible. Basically, Ricky and Justin, they ruled that game when that game came out. It was either one or the other winning every tournament.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to do that. And when people saw me kind of getting to that point, that was where it was like, wait a minute, like, okay, like maybe I can do it as well. Like, same with Sonic Fox after me. Like,
Right.
because I remember Sonic Fox as a kid, and then boom, Sonic Fox is now winning everything. Like it was just one of those things where, like, you needed someone to break the mold, and at
You
that
know,
moment, it was me.
well, of course. Around this time, streaming is taking off again. Another, we've mentioned it a million times. The boom, gaming is in right now. Esports is big. I know that's a bad word in this community sometimes, but deal with it. But when did you start getting noticed by sponsors? Did you were you were you looking to get sponsored at the time, or were you just looking, just to have fun, fill your pockets, run as many tournaments as possible? Take us through that. Like again, when is it that teams started taking notice of you?
Almost instantly. Of course, I was EMP for a couple months
Yes, you
until I
were.
realized that they. Hmm. Best way to explain, but best way to put this into words. We didn't
Triforce
see eye
gobbled
to
up everybody.
eye.
Trust me.
We didn't see eye to eye. There you go. I'll leave it at that. But
Right, right,
when I started going to Fort Lee local battles,
right, right.
you know, the guy was like, "Hey, like, would you like to be part of like our team?" I'm like, "All right, sure." Like I just kind of like started saying yes to like possibilities, but it turns out that local battles and John, who I guess owned it at the time, he was ahead of the curve. Like he knew how much like social media was important.
Right.
He made my Twitter, like he would actually like type for me because I was like, oh, screw Twitter, like so he actually put a few things in motion, and but I knew that I kind of needed a sponsor to travel like outside. That's why CEO was my big break, and I think we flew there or drove back. Yeah, I think so. I think that's how that went. I'm not too sure. It was rough. Um, so Florida,
Oh boy. Here we
2011,
go.
and yeah, like I couldn't believe that something like that existed.
Did he have the wrestling
It
ring on there yet?
no, it was just a big stage, and there's just people looking at you, and it was like I'm not sure how many entrances were there, but that was the biggest thing I've ever seen. Besides for like working at Jacob Javits Center and seeing
Right.
like like a little bit of how that worked, but like actually seeing like, yo, this this looks pretty big. I was scared. I was actually like extremely nervous. Like this, now I'm really not in my element. And like boom, I did way better than I thought, and that's when like he realized that I needed something bigger. And then Finger Cramp rolled through with Hack, and they had so many ideas and stuff. And even though it wasn't about money, like at the time, like because again, like sponsors, nobody was giving money back then. Um,
Everybody
like there
wanted a
was a
piece of the
thousand
pie,
sponsors.
right?
Yep, there was 1,000 sponsors, man.
Yeah,
Nobody
man.
was getting paid
Trust
except
me. Again,
Justin and Dumb.
that boom.
they they was living life, yo. We was stuck in the Stone Age, man. Like just try to be part of every team, but I'm glad I caught on to the game quick, where I was like, oh snap, like these guys is actual monsters. Like these they were predators. These groups and stuff, they were predators, and all these names and organizations and everything with freaking DMG, EMP, AG, before AGE, like
Wow.
it was just names. And I started to notice really, really quick that like everybody was kind of taking advantage of their players. For me, I was just like looking out for homies, like and
Right.
kind of like being part of a family almost. So when I was local battles, like I really respected these people. When I was finger cramp, I really respected these guys. They were good people. And even after finger cramp, I knew like I have to be part of good people.
Let me ask.
And yeah, that
Let
was
me
that was
ask you
when like
something.
the other sponsors came through.
Let me ask you something, because we're here talking about the boom, how everybody loved it, how gaming had a new spotlight on it. But you mentioned, and you're absolutely right, man. I mean, I remember like just thousands of sponsors, all these teams just popped out of left field overnight. And you yourself, you experienced it. I can't remember how many initials you had before your actual gamer tag came around. But you mentioned some names like AGE, VVV. I never knew what the heck that actually stood for, if it actually stood for anything. But
Oh,
you said
VVV
it yourself.
Scrub, PR Rog.
But you said it yourself, and you saw it firsthand. It wasn't about taking care of the player or anything. It was just taking full advantage. Were they not gaming people? Were these just corporate suits looking at it? It's like, oh, this is going to be a trend. This is going to be something that we can make money off of. Because, like you said, for the Fort Lee guys, local eights, finger cramp, they they were, by all means, they had the mentality of being gamers. They knew how this stuff worked. Those other teams, again, take us through that. Were they not gamers at all? Did they not see
Okay,
the? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
th- this is this was really weird at the time. Everyone knew EMP.
Oh, of
And
course,
every
yes.
and again, not I'm not gonna blow them up. I'm gonna be as generous as possible.
Well, you know what? Before
They
you
knew
go
the
on,
truth.
before
Is
you
the
go
best way to
on,
put it.
I'm not going to include EMP on that group, because by all means they were gamers. Triforce, as much as people hate him and all his doings, he is a gamer, so he had an idea. But I'm talking more about all the other ones.
Yeah. So I'm mentioning EMP because that was obviously the start. The
Yes.
start of we are trying to be professional and we are trying to get sponsors and gigs and stuff, but something is going wrong. And of course, obviously they had 1,000 players. I was EMP. I saw firsthand. I used to hang out with them at this point. I was hanging out with a bunch of them as Nelson was a really good friend of mine, and
Right.
he convinced me to just join because the hell else am I gonna do? At that point, he might have been correct. All right, but um, so when that happened, I already knew like, oh snap, okay, I gotta look out for all these other guys who's gonna come through. Except with EMP, they might have actually been your friends. These other guys, they're coming out of again the woodworks, right? So like, they would approach me, they would approach a lot of other people, and they'd be like, "Hey, man, if you do good, if this, we could promise you the world, if so and so, and blah 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 blah. We give you like $100. We could bring you to maybe 2 events out of the, it. there were so many promises. There were so many times they were like, "Hey, Chris, if we get you, like, then we can finally start getting the big dollars because now we got like one of the best players in the world." Man, all the promises just failed and failed, and then you started to see the really bad practices and stuff. Now you mentioned them not being gamers. A lot of them were. A lot of them really were gamers as well.
Okay.
But it was more like a gamer that just decided, hey, what if I just like actually try to make something of it? But the problem is that most of them didn't have a real plan. So it was kind of like, well, okay, since I don't really know what to do, what if I just like gobble up a bunch of players and see how, you know what I mean? Like, we'll start from
They
there.
they weren't they didn't have any business acumen, right?
Yeah, like, and again, a lot of it, they had promises. Everyone had promises. That was the theme of the FGC for a couple years. It was like, yo, like, I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, give me 3 months, and I'm like, yo, I could die in 3 months. Like, I'm not giving you anything, So, but a lot of other people, they thought, hey, man, if I have 2 letters in front of my name, and
Yes.
maybe if I get a T-shirt, and maybe, just maybe, I could get a stick for free. And I forgot, this is at the time where all of these guys were just sponsored by Mad Cats,
Right.
and it was like, yo, I get to be Mad Cats, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? You get the shirt with the claw on it, except ours is a different color. So you're stupid. Okay. Well, congratulations. I hope you enjoy getting bent over. But like,
You,
eh,
we
yeah, it was
laugh
bad.
about that. We laugh about that now, and it's understandable. But man, that was like, uh, I don't know, man. That was like a drug for people back then. It wasn't about leveling up. It wasn't about let me go travel the world to make money off of this. It was literally I just want 2 letters in front of my name. If I get those 2 letters, I know I've made it. But it's like you said, it's like, well, what's the end game with that? It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I get a free stick, or I get I get a free T-shirt. You're of a different mindset, so obviously you probably didn't connect much with these people because you saw the light at the end.
I thought they were idiots. And there were so many times, like, even when, like, we're going to like 2012, 2013, where like names are
Right.
actually getting established. I called them all just morons. I was like, dog, what are you doing, dog? Why are you joining this, dog? You have so much potential. And even, and it's funny too, because I would get myself in hot water all the time, but I still tried to look out for these guys. I still try to look out for, like, yo, like, I really don't think you should do this, man. Like, you really, this isn't right. This isn't smart. And like, a lot of them, they'd say, yo, like, but I'm not you. Like, it sucks, but like, at the time I didn't really understand. But I guess what they really meant to say was that, like, they felt like they couldn't win. So
I,
why not take anything?
right.
And
I see what you're saying there.
and marketing 101, like, you got to be your own brand first, right? Like,
Of course.
if you can't win, do something else. And or just be a part of the scene, or maybe make your own team and do things the right way, or like, be smart. Don't be a tool for other people. And like, obviously back then, I was just like, all right, well, do you. But now it kind of makes sense where it's like, huh, they
No,
were
I know what
desperate.
you're saying because, like you said, do something that will benefit the scene and benefit yourself. And I guess you could sort of say so many people wanted to go the commentating route because I remember a lot of players, like you said, they're just happy with a T-shirt, and I mean, I hate to say it, but they're happy to go 0-2 in pools if it means that, oh, maybe I'll get a chance to be streamed on, people see me live. But a lot of them moved on, and a lot of them have stayed and have helped contribute to the scene. And I mean, what can you do? You try to help. You said it yourself. You were looking out for a lot of them. Were many people taking your advice at the time?
Yes and no. Cause like we were still homies. Like the East Coast, everyone was just homies with each other. So, at the end of the day, it really came down to just like chilling, next level, go to the diner with like 15 of us and just talk crap
Right.
to each other. Like I think a lot of times people they did these desperate things. And again, like I'm the term desperate very loosely, but in some form it was that type of thing where it's like, hey, look, if I could just be a part of anything, I'll do it. So they just wanted to have a good time. Like so even if like I would tell somebody like, hey man, like I don't know, man, I don't know. They'd be like, look, I I get to be here right now.
Right.
I'm like again, like the famous saying, I'm really just happy to be here.
Right. Right. I'm experiencing it, so I don't care what else happens.
Yep,
You
exactly.
know,
Forget the 2 years, 3 years later, where
right.
I don't know where they are at this point, but at that moment, maybe, just maybe, they were happy.
In all those years, um, you've grown as a player. Everybody takes that. Everybody takes notice that you're a very talented player. One thing I always told people about you, is like a lot of people only want to say, "Oh, Chris G is just a Marvel 3 player." It's like, no, guys, he's a threat to make top 16 in anything. I've seen you play MK9 and KOF 13. A lot of people sometimes forget that you were very good at it at the time. Where were you a little bit angry that a lot of people only wanted to qualify you as a Marvel 3 player? Were you like, guys, I just don't play this game. I understand a lot of my success came from this game, but I play everything top tier as well. Sure, maybe I won't get top 8 or maybe I won't get finals here and there, but I'm still like a threat enough where nobody wants to play me in pools. Did it ever bother you that everybody only ever wants to say, "Oh, he's just a Marvel 3 player"? Did that ever bother you at the time?
Well, it is let's see, 3:50 p.m. the 7th, 2021.
Yes.
Yesterday, 20 hours ago, somebody wrote, because that's the one game Marvel game you're trash at. You can't rely on Morrigan, Soulfist, Doom, and your buddy Virgil isn't in the game. That was 20 hours ago. Now, in 10 years? Oh wait, what do you guys? You guys kick, punch, block? All right?
Yeah.
And I don't know who's the other guy on the line. But
Steve.
if you have ever been in any one of these top 8 finals for KOF, and I would be playing and I would make top 3 every single time, and nobody would root for me, every time I got hit, they would clap. I'm not too sure if you guys notice, but I would clap for myself. After I beat somebody, damn, that guy Chris G, yo, he's pretty good. Like, I would literally just go into the crowd and say that because I felt so disrespected as a competitor and as a person who wanted to try out new games. Same thing with anime. Yo, we can't let this Chris G guy win. Like, I don't care about winning. I just wanted to play the game. And, even when I play League, in League, I'm Diamond 3. Right? I
Right.
could actually hit Masters this season. An FGC guy hitting Masters in a MOBA. All right? And I still get comments, go back to Marvel. Like, dog, how many majors in Street Fighter 4 do I have to win? How many majors in Third Strike? I've won majors in KOF. I've won majors in Injustice, MK,
Yes.
Injustice 2, even MK11 I won one. Like, how many top 8s at Evo? I got top 8 Evo in MK9, Injustice, Dragon Ball Z, and Marvel. What else do I have to prove before people start taking me serious in other games? I was one of the biggest threats in Street Fighter 5 when that came out, and people still, again, like, this is a whole 10 years in the making. And it just comes down to that Marvel guy. I am that Marvel guy. It's really,
Is
it sucks.
it what is it about those people? And maybe it's just the internet. We know there's a lot of people who love spreading hate. I'm sure you experience some of it at actual events. It's like, go play Marvel 3. What is it about some people that they can't recognize a guy who's put in the hard work like yourself? And not that I'm calling this guy out. I look at a guy like Tokido, who's top tier in almost every game he touches, yet he doesn't get the hatred that a guy like you does. Why is that?
You know, that would, when you got the answer to that, that'd be great. All I know
Cool.
is that growing up in the scene and for the last 10 years, people would talk about Asia as if it was the end all be all.
Of course.
They couldn't do any wrong. They were the greatest things on the planet, and all you should do is bow to them. That's how these American players would talk about Asia. It was depressing. Like, it was so stupid that, like, even though at that time I'm being compared to Tokido, I'm being compared to Kazunoko, I'm being compared to Daigo and the greats, and my resume spoke for itself.
Of course,
You know,
yes.
it didn't matter. I was American. It's just really weird that, like, they they have this mindset where they really have to worship these guys. And honestly, yeah, maybe it could be the fact that we are angry. We have way more frustration. We get ourselves into trouble, and our Lord and Savior Daigo and Tokido and them, they're showing everybody the right way of how to be human. But, like, what does that mean? They live differently.
Of
you
course.
know, we had to fight, right? I don't know what they had to do, but that's on them, right? Like, even if they struggled, even if they showed hate, let's say they called everyone stupid, they called America trash, they said, you know, you guys suck. Like, I don't really care. That's on them. But, this is us, and we just want to play the games too, and we just want to try to win too, and I don't I don't know.
You're concentrating on yourself at the time. Sponsors may come here and there, and everything that you just said, you have a lot of haters, internet, people on forums, maybe people in at events. Heck, maybe even at some, random Comic Con, because people forget at Comic Cons there were fighting game tournaments as well. And everything that you just said, did it bother you? Or do you just like said, you know what, I got better things to do. I try to help a lot of you guys out. It's just your mindset is never going to change. Like, how did you deal with it? Was it easy for you to ignore that?
You know,
Or did you fall
oh,
or did you fall to that same trap that unfortunately a lot of players did, where it's like, I'm just going to listen more to what forum dwellers, what stream monsters, they're absolutely right. You know, take me through your mind when, during that time of your career.
it it sucks. Um, in Chinatown Fair, right? I was already hated, and by randoms and stuff, and again, like I just wanted to be left alone. I just wanted to play my games and blah blah
Right.
blah. After that, right when I started traveling and stuff, and I started seeing like the 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 grand scale of things, and seeing how all that stuff was amplified, and especially throughout the years, right? Like, of course, a lot of it was, yeah, I was really salty, right? Like, I
Right.
really hated losing, and my passion, it drove me to do stupid things, right? Because at that point it really was just me, so I didn't know what else to do. Um, but it came a point where I just became the villain. I like just I like out of nowhere, just overnight, where just the East Coast people, it seemed they just betrayed me almost to a sense where they're like, yo, like we this guy can't win anymore. Like we have to do anything it takes to beat this guy. Like like a lot of these people would call me scrubs, scrub, and all that. And the funny thing is that like a couple months even before that, they were like, "Yo, Chris, man, you have the potential to be one of the best. You have the potential to be the next Justin Wong. You have the potential to be the next Daigo, so on and so forth. Like, you are the future of East Coast. You." And then it just became yo, I really hate that guy. Like, people talking crap about me. I get messages all the time. Like, yo, like, you see this right now? Like, yo, like, East Coast don't like you. And it, again, right? So I became the villain. And it I just accepted it. I accepted the hate, I accepted the burden, and it amplified my troubles to the sense where I would say more dumb things. I would do more dumb things. I would tweet more dumb things. Like I just became like unstable in a sense.
Right.
And uh like it would show in my gameplay sometimes. Like the first literal breakdown was when I fought Dominion in Civil War. And of course I'd never been able to beat that guy in my life. And I cracked. I'm in winners grand finals. He's in losers. He beats me 3 games straight resets, and I just couldn't take it. Like I just broke.
Right.
And like
The barrier completely came down, and it's like your mind cracked. Right.
yep. Like it that was one of the biggest moments in my life, because like after the intermission, like I pulled it together, and I beat him for the first time in my life. And like that moment I was like wow, I couldn't believe, like, it was two things. Wow, I couldn't believe I actually did it. Like I can actually reach the next step in Street Fighter 4. The other thing was, wow, I can't believe I couldn't hold it together. Like just everything just weighed down on me at that point. And that's happened a few times. The biggest one, which is where everyone, you know, calls me a crybaby for, which is weird too, because I've always wondered why other people can cry at events and it's perfectly fine.
Right.
Other people, oh my god, I lost in top 32. At least I'm in grand finals when I cried.
Right.
Like, why is that okay? The big one is when I broke playing RF. And I dropped the combo killing
Right.
combo on Virgil. I dropped the character. Virgil was on screen and I could have killed him, and I dropped it. What ended up happening, obviously, is I got destroyed, but I couldn't take it anymore. And that's the thing, that these instances are the things that people latch onto. Like, instead of seeing it as, oh, you know what, like other, it's the thing, like other people. Oh, you know what? He's
Yes.
really passionate about the game. Like, oh, like again, other people. Oh, that guy, oh, he got top 8. Oh, he's crying because he got top 8. Even to me, I'm like, all right, like, but what's really weird is that like I'm at Evo and everyone expects me to win. And
Right.
they're like,
Right.
"Oh my God, Chris G hasn't won yet. Oh, Chris G, oh my God, you're always so close, and then you screw it up. Oh, you suck. Oh, this and that." And I'm like, "Dog, like I'm put under this microscope where everyone's just around me screaming, and there's a group of people that just want to see me fail, and then obviously there's another people that like, yo, dog, like just win Evo, like that's it. It's just
Yes.
easy." And of
It's it's
course,
it's
that
it's extra pressure that comes with the fact that you're a top player. This happens with any major sport, any sporting event. The guy who's looked at the best at the time, and you're ridiculously talented, you were looked at as like, well, who's going to beat him? I mean, some people will never understand that as fans, you're putting so much extra pressure that's not needed. You're not letting them play their game. You're taking them out of their element because you're gonna feel like, well, I'm letting this group down, but then I got this other group. It's a lot to take in.
yep. And so I broke, and that's it. It became like all these instances, like they just became running jokes. And like again, it Tokido cried when he lost to Daigo in an exhibition. Yo,
And
that was the
nobody,
greatest thing I've ever seen. Oh my God, look at Tokido. Oh my God, he's human. Oh my God, I understand how he feels. What do you mean you understand how it feels? To lose to somebody in a video game where there's nothing on the line? Like, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where I'm like, dog, like, how is this not equal this? How is this more important than what other people are going through? How is this more important than getting ninth at Evo? Like I, uh, people are backwards, man.
let me ask you this. Um, you just sat here and had that talk, and it's understandable. You were getting it from a lot of different areas, but I wanted to bring this up. It seems that from what you were saying, it's mainly from the quote unquote Capcom fan base. Because again, I played Mortal Kombat 9 mainly, and the two games I ever took seriously from a competitive standpoint was MK9 and Goro Mark of the Wolves. Um, when Justin would come into one of the rooms, because I actually would go down to NEC and Big E events just to play on the Goro tournament, and then later on MK9. And some communities are so much more different than others. The Goro community, nobody looks at Justin and says, "Oh man, we can't let him win. He's a Street Fighter player." Blah blah blah. No, we know he's a top player who loves playing this game. When I saw you play MK9, at least from my vantage point, when you would come down to VSMs, whenever that was, or even when you played in tournaments, you were treated with respect. Nobody out there was saying, "Oh, we can't let Chris G win." It's like, who's this reptile player think he is? We got our own top reptile player. Is it only really from the Capcom community and maybe some other, obscure maybe anime games? Because again, outside of the two communities that I mainly played in, I never saw no hostility towards you. Even KOF, when I used to go to next level to play at KOF 13 and I saw you playing it sometimes, you never got any hostility there. So is it something inherent with the Capcom community because there's so many eyes on those games compared to everything else?
This is the weird thing. This is very, very weird, and again, backwards thinking, backwards mentality. All right, you are only the hero up until the point where you become the villain.
Yes.
You When I was playing MK9, all right, of course, everyone, oh, you're great. Thanks, man. Thank you for playing our game. Have you have you noticed the other MK games so far as they've come out? Have
I'll be
have you
honest
seen
with
how
you, I
they've
have
treated me?
not. No, because I didn't like MKX, and I haven't even touched MK11.
Okay, well, let me summarize
Oh,
something
and by the
extremely
way,
quickly.
trust me when I tell you this. I know how toxic that community is. I'm
Oh,
only
it's
really looking
awful.
at it from an I'm only looking at it from an MK9 perspective and an Injustice One, because obviously the community is much different now compared to what it was when MK9, when Phil and the guys would be
Yep,
running things.
it
Trust me,
only
I
got
that's what I'm only
worse.
talking about.
It got worse as
I
time
know.
went on. KOF again, same thing. Oh my God, Chris is playing KOF. That's the greatest thing I've ever seen. And exactly what I said. I go to these events, and there's crickets. And the only time they clap is when I lose. Anime games? Oh man, don't let this guy beat you. But at first, oh man, Chrissy's picking up Persona? That's great news.
That's right.
Oh
We get
man.
10 more viewers or 100 and on our streams. That's good. But we don't want him to win.
Yep. Every game was like that. Every single game. And the hate only increased as the games came out, as time went
Right.
on, because then be like, wait a minute, KrisG's in grand finals of KOF? Which one of you idiots let that happen? Like, they actually let them, like, they'll tell them that. Like, whose fault is this? What do you mean fault? I'm just better than them. Like,
Right.
what? Imagine, like blaming another competitor for why another competitor got top 3 because he was better than them. And not even talking about like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? I got lucky. Like, no. It was just me. When the guy would jump, just level 2 super. Oh, he jump again? Level 2 super. I didn't do combos. I just did level 2 super till he died. And I'm like, I mean, you're just bad at the game. Like, why are you faulting me for learning it? Like, is it because I couldn't do these combos? And I think that's what it came down to. When me and Justin would win in games, they'd be like, yo, like, these guys didn't do any combos and they beat you. Like, this is your life. So I think what it came down to is that, like, maybe, just maybe, the other guys pretty much felt small for not being able to beat us at something that
Right.
we're not supposed to play. And yeah, like, again, I guess the hate just increased and increased. And then, like the MK11 thing where I was in Summit and they were like, KrisG doesn't deserve to be on the Summit. And I'm like,
Right.
but why?
Why not?
I've supported you guys since the beginning of time, and this is what you do. I tested 3 of your games, and this
Right.
is what
Right.
you're gonna do. Like it just like I said, it didn't change really, like, in terms of like the Chinatown Fair to like later on years. It seemed that a lot of people just became more hateful as social media got bigger and bigger. People just started
Right.
growing bigger balls and just started getting more disrespectful. I don't know, man. It got weird.
You know what? We just talked about all that, but even so, you're still moving on. Was that Evo win the biggest high of your FGC career?
No, actually. Um, the big moments really were CEO, where I won
Right.
MK9,
Hmm.
because that was the first time like I've ever experienced like true greatness, which is weird too because like coming back getting second, and,
Hmm.
and even winning local tournaments, like being literally in front of everybody, and it's like, wow, like I did this, that was big. TFC, I thought, was one of my biggest and best runs ever,
Right.
because there was international players there, and I ended up winning, and I've ended up being the only American to qualify for Capcom Cup and Street Fighter,
Right.
which is big. Like, I'm KrisG. I don't deserve to play Street Fighter 4. I don't deserve to be in Capcom Cup for this game, but here I
Right.
am.
Right.
So the Evo thing, and it goes back to why I broke down at that moment fighting RF. It was more like a weight had finally been lifted off my shoulders instead of like oh my god, I won Evo. Even though I did get that feeling, it wasn't as big as the other tournaments because in a weird sense, maybe people were right. Maybe I really was just supposed to win Evo. It was that easy. Like, oh my god, like I'll wake up today and win Evo. You know, so you know, it was really just like I finally did it. Like Jesus Christ, like now you can leave me alone.
Dude, you know what, man? You have to explain to us. That's something that so many, I want to say 99.9% of the community is never going to experience. It's just such a hard road to win that event. And you know, this is even obviously talking about how it's going forward because I really don't know the details about that. But what is it? You know, explain to us winning that event. This is the quote unquote granddaddy of them all. This is the considered the world championship, and you did it for a game that you know you put in a lot of work. And you're going through, you know, tough fields, and you know this is around the time where the game where the pools were big, you know, where the player quality was huge. I mean, you know, take us through that weekend specifically for that game, and you finally, and then finally ending with you being, you know, king of the mountain.
That there's a very interesting story with that. I actually was not going to enter that Evo at all.
Why not?
Life had not gonna say caught up to me, but in a sense, things went really bad when I moved to California. That was when I had moved to California, and things was
Right.
going really wrong, really fast. And in a sense, I felt like I failed. Like going from New York, where I was king, to you know, and having my way, just doing whatever I wanted at any given moment, to moving to California and feeling like, wow, like I suck. Like I don't know what to do. There even came moments where like I'm losing basic tournaments, like because I was just losing myself, and um the crazy thing was I was actually going to quit. I was going to quit the FGC. I told a bunch of
Wow.
people. I said I wasn't going to go. There was a guy who hit me up, very random, Rotendo, from Texas, I think actually, or Atlanta, but I think Texas. He hit me up and he was like, "Hey, are you going to Evo?" And I was like, "I don't think so." I had no sponsor. You know, I was back to hustling, and I thought at that moment I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go back to the East Coast. You know, I actually felt like I failed, and so he goes, you know what? Just just come. You know, I'll pay for everything. You can stay with
Wow.
me.
Wow.
You know, and at that point, he was kind of trying to help me get on a team, even though I wasn't too optimistic about it. And he was like, "Look, you don't even have to rep anything. Just come. I feel like you can win." And I was like, you know what? Whatever, man. Like, this is it. This is it. Like, literally, if I would have lost Evo, I hate how the world works. I literally said it. I said, if I lose Evo, that's it. Like, let's move on with life. We tried. All right. So, first time, first time at Evo. No sponsor. I have no jersey. It's just my clothing. I, I I think I was like one of the only guys in any top 8 that just wasn't anybody at that point, right? Like at this time,
Right.
I felt
Right.
like a nobody. All right, so you know, going through pools, whatever. Uh, what oh my god, I think that was the Joey D incident where I broke again, and it was 2-1 me. I have X Factor level 3 Virgil against his no X Factor incoming Virgil. I have bar, V trigger, wow, V trigger, X Factor, everything. There is
you had all the resources.
there's literally a 1% chance that I could lose, and I found that way. So I tried to dash, and I got level 4. And he kills me, right? Dog. I exploded.
Yes.
Like, I felt like at that moment, wow. Get me out of here. Like, I don't deserve to be here. Like,
You experienced
I
a
don't deserve.
big time low.
Yep. At that moment, in the middle of a tournament, I was like, this is probably the worst thing that could ever happen in my life at this exact moment. Like, at this point, I'm failing. I'm failing everything. Life sucks. I got no sponsor. You know, it's just dolo, right? Like, there's no way. Like, what? Like, okay, right? So I break
What turned
down.
it around?
So I think I had Fnatic, Priest at that moment too, and of course Angie. You know, like, they were just really trying to calm me down. Everyone's screaming. Like, mind you, like, at this point, like, I could pretty much feel people. And you know, like, I guess it just came all crashing down where I'm like, yo, like, I can't control my emotions. I can't control my nerves right now. And, you know, so they finally calmed me down. And Joey D just looking at me like, oh man, I'm about to beat this guy next game. It's over. Like,
I got him right where I want him, right?
Yup. Oh man, this is it. It's over for this guy. And you know, so I pulled it together. I beat him. All right. Then I beat Ryan LV, and I made top 8. And it's really weird. For Evo and every Evo I've ever attended, I only cared about making top 8. This is the weird thing. Making top 8 was my only goal. Whatever happens after making top 8 is a bonus. I really wanted that medal. Even more than the win. I really wanted the medal to prove to everyone that this is a consistent thing. I'm always going to get this medal. And time will show that I was there every time. And
yeah, the history books will show KrisG top 8 again.
Yep. So boom, Sunday, I'm ready. Now that night, that was a weird night.
I was about to ask that, you know, did you sleep well?
No. I kind of was just there, just chilling, just you know, hands on my head, you know, just thinking what I'm gonna do. Like, you know, of course, Angie is just trying to console me, and I'm gone. Like, I just felt like at all these moments, I was always gone. Like, I was so, and I feel like even to a certain point, like even today, like my mind be just messed up at times. And, you know, so I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, like, this is it, you know, like, this could just be like my last time, my last Evo. And
your last
I ain't got a sponsor. And I remember Angie asking me, she's like, hey, what are you going to wear? And I felt like that was more important than anything else. You know, we're just chilling. We're in the hotel room. I'm just on the bed, just like, Just like I'm depressed for some reason. Like even though I made top 8, but I was like, you know what? I think I know what to do. And boom,
Before you go
I,
on, before you go on, is part of that depression because you mentioned it. You didn't have no sponsor. You felt like you didn't have anything. Was that part of the depression? Because you know how good you are, you know how talented you are, and you don't have nobody, having your back, helping you out. Is that part of it?
I think what people have always said about me is I am my own worst enemy. So most of the tournaments I've ever lost, it was my own fault. I would break, I would crack, I would make silly mistakes. I would hate myself. I'd punch my stick sometimes. Like a lot of times I just couldn't hold it together. And like this was just another one of those times where I was like I'm trying so hard, but there's so much. Everything just always comes back. It's always like the memories, the past, everything just leads up into that exact moment in time where I just can't take it. Like my hands would literally be shaking and I wouldn't be able to
Right.
control it. Even after the matches were done, I still wouldn't be able to control it. I had no control over myself. I was breaking. I was dying. Like literally, in a sense, I'm killing myself. And
So So in between that time, like you said, you're there with your friends at night, and you're just, I'm sure you're like just rocking back and forth. This might be my last hurrah. I'm in top 8 for Marvel 3. This is Evo. And between that time and the time you take the stage to begin, the top 8, what changed?
that morning, my outfit, I I finally decided, you know what? I'm gonna go out for the first time as me. And my first opponent was none other than Justin Wong.
Oh, yes.
And if there was, and of course, there's a history between us, and we fought at almost every Evo.
Right.
Like this was just it. It was just another time we were gonna play each other. And that set, I don't know if you've seen it, right? So
It's been
obviously,
a
I
while.
woke up I woke up that morning. I put on my dress shirt. I put on a vest. Put on some slacks, some dress shoes, and I just came out there just living my best life. And
Professional Chris
like,
G, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, it felt good. Like that's always how I've always wanted to look. I've always wanted to look different than everybody else. I've always wanted
Right.
to dress nicer, and like I said, I wanted everything. I wanted more of everything, and that was that moment that I could show like, hey, I get to look nice while doing my thing. And so first game, Justin Wong. I played it just like another game, and I felt like as the matches went on, I played every match like just another game. Like this is just
You're
another
relaxed.
person. Yep. Even though the match went 3-2, like down to the wire, and this time I had finally beat him again. Uh, I felt like another weight had been lifted off my shoulder, and now I could just focus on the rest of the tournament. And that was what happened. Matches went on. It looked like I started beating people worse and worse, worse. Like I became unstoppable. After Justin, it I was actually hype to hit rematch. Like that was
Come on,
it.
let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yup. And then grand finals happened, right? I'm fighting Kane Blue. At this point, we're actually going back and forth. Like at first, I was able to beat him because, oh, yeah, I mean, he's playing Hulk. Who the hell cares? I'm just gonna beat him. And then there came a point where life is getting bad for me, and I'm losing to him now. And I'm like, wow, it's my hardships in my life is now showing through my gameplay. I'm losing to Hulk. I'm losing to Hagar. And I'm losing to Sentinel.
Team Big Body.
As Morgan. Yep, I'm actually losing to this now. And again, it was showing. I think I lost him like 2-3 tournaments in a row, and they were free. He made me look like I was definitely not playing a character with fireballs. Like I was playing Ryu again.
And it goes to show you his dedication as well, man. He put in a lot of work. God bless him,
Yep. And if anybody knows, Kane Blue River is a type of person to smell blood. When he knows, yo, oh my God, Chris is not Chris right now. That's it. Take full advantage of it. Like he gonna get hit with every H. He gonna get hit on every incoming. Everything will hit. Right. And he played that way, and everything did hit. Everything did work. And like So that Evo playing him, I was finally calm and collected, and like he beat me the first game on the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I don't know if it was on purpose or an accident, but he did the greatest thing ever. And at that moment, right? So it's 1-0 Kane Blue River. Another Evo I might potentially lose again. But I was like, you know what? I actually was like, that was good stuff. You know what? The game plan doesn't change. Like it finally clicked in my head. I'm not supposed to change how I play. I just need to play me.
Right.
And I should win. I should win by default. And it started to show as game and game and game. And this is me. Just hitting the rematch button like this. I was like, I don't want him to think. And for some reason, he didn't either. He just kept hitting rematch too.
Wow.
And then boom, 6 games in a row. And like that realization where I was like, wow, all I had to do was play my game. And I win. Like every other major I've won before that. Like every other stepping stone that I had to, step over. That's why it even shows in the video where I'm just like, it's like a sigh of relief where I'm like, wow, like Jesus Christ, finally,
you made
God
it to the
damn
top.
it, yeah, I'm there, and this was the first year at the Mandalay Bay, so this is finally like the first grand stage, and I'm like,
and you're having tons of people. Literally, you guys are in the middle. Everybody's like looking down. It looks like a college auditorium, but it's all over the place.
Yep. And, like, to a certain extent, I was happy that was the one. Like, every other time I felt like I didn't fight for myself. But that was the first time I finally went, you know what? I don't care anymore. Like, this is it. I got nothing to lose. And maybe that was that mindset that I needed. I have nothing to lose anymore. And that was what got me to that point in the first place. And it showed. It showed in my gameplay, and I did it, and it felt great. Like, it felt great to finally just do it.
A lot of us were happy for you. I mean, again, big Evo title. You just went through it. What you were feeling, you're on cloud 9, and never underestimate what a good, a good suit would do to somebody, right?
And, look good, feel good, man.
No, I'm sure it's like you felt weight off your shoulders, and I'm like, I'm Chris G. I finally did this. I went through a gauntlet, but like you said, you were feeling completely down, and you managed to find yourself. That's freaking awesome, man. It's like you said, it was just something just finally just off your shoulders, right? Did you feel so much relief afterwards?
Man, yeah, it. You should. I felt like the word of the day was finally. Literally every single person that hit me up said the exact same thing. Like even before congratulations, it was finally. Like on my Twitter, finally you did it. God damn it, yo! Like
You know, first of all, congratulations, but I have to ask, who the heck was that jumped up
of
on
course
the
I was
stage?
I was waiting.
I
I was
honestly,
waiting.
I'm like, is this like some random ass mumble rapper that nobody told me about? Like,
Man,
did
that
you
that
ever
guy
even, I have like everybody's like, who is this? Did you ever
that
even
guy
run a
definitely
set with the guy, or you just laughed him off?
that guy like you said, mumble rapper. If that
He
guy
fit the
ever
bill,
this
man.
if that guy ever makes an album, I hope that's his first album cover. Like that guy, I went digging um when that whole thing happened. I went digging, like found out a little bit about the guy. He was some Vegas loco
Right.
that apparently,
Oh,
according
Vegas
to a few
local.
people, he um he was asking to play other people, but I guess a bunch of people said no. This is what was told to me. So a
Right.
bunch of people said no, and obviously it's Evo, right? Like I'm gonna let
Right.
this random guy who played me. Like I'm trying to practice for tournaments, stuff like that. Like I'm trying to get my mind right, and like this guy just comes out of nowhere. Um, I guess because of that situation, he might have thought, you know what? If I can't play these guys, I'll play the winner.
You're in my
And
hometown, so I deserve an exhibition right away.
yep. Now there's a few things I like to clarify about that guy. One,
Please, by all means, do.
one, he made the conscious decision to buy tickets that day. Well, that for this weekend, Evo, right? So he smart enough to do that, right? Two, he bought tickets for Sunday, right? So he was there Sunday. Three, this is the most important one. This is the funnier one. Even before the four, which is he went up on stage. Three, he made the conscious decision to take off his shirt. Now, I'm not I'm not too sure he had a bag, but he definitely had his controller. So, I he was ready. He was ready for that moment. Like I was ready to win Evo. He was ready to challenge whoever won.
Right.
So he goes up on stage, walks by everybody. Now, this is the thing, right? Evo never had much security. I was told that Evo, because one of my friends almost got into a fight. One of my friends almost choked somebody out because so there was a punch getting thrown, and we had to defuse it ourselves. Now, I was told that Evo that thank God that we defused it ourselves because they only had like 3 people there
3 security guards.
for like thousands of people, right? But whatever, right? He goes up on stage. No one stops the guy.
Right.
no, no one asks any questions. No one says anything. The guy walks up, and I guess at this point, right, since he's walking up to me, I guess maybe he knows me, right? Like maybe that would have been like what people are
I'm your
thinking.
biggest fan.
Yeah, right. Or maybe since he has no shirt, I know this guy from New York. Yo, he from the block. Like, so he walks up to me, like I'm startled because of what, and he was like,
That's right.
And he's like, so I don't know exactly what he said, but it went along these lines. Like, I'm not done until I play him. Right? I'm not finished, so I'm not done until I play him. So I was like, yeah, all right, man. I mean, I didn't say all right. I was like, I don't know, all right. All
Right.
right. So I
I
kind
know
of
where
brushed
you're
him
going with
off.
this.
But the interesting thing is that he actually plugged his controller. He was
Oh,
ready.
did he? Oh,
Yes. Wow. And right then and there, it was like, hey, get the hell off the stage. I think the video footage is the funniest part because it just shows him like cops got him.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. Like,
Here I am. I was about to give the guy credit for, dodging this, big high security at the Mandalay Bay. And you only told me there's 3
nope.
people there. Okay. No credit for you, my friend.
There was a video somebody showed me like years later. Like, this is like TMZ footage at this point where they actually show him coming up to the stage. And I was like, wait a minute, you telling me you had this the whole time? And you never showed anyone? They actually showed him like, yo, I'm about to do this. Yo, let's go. The
That's freaking
balls
great, man.
on that guy, man. But yeah, it's funny. But at the same time, it could have gotten dangerous very quickly. Like,
I actually, we're laughing about it here, man. But sometimes, and you've seen it in other sporting events where it's like this, random people go up to these athletes, these players of anything, and it's like it's not to give them a hug, it's more to like stab them or something. But thank God it
yep.
didn't escalate to that. You know what I'm saying? But moving on, man. You got your big Evo win. You said that at the time, you were sponsorless. This is a big coming out party for you again. Did you start getting a few offers right away afterwards, or were you still wondering what your future holds?
So might have been like a month or 2 afterwards, right? I made my money, so I was like, all right, you know what? I'll chill for a little bit, right? Let's see what could happen. Because even before that, I was getting offers, right? Even like now with no sponsor, I'm still getting offers, but it was like back in the day. Hey, man, if you get a little bit of it, if you join our team, we can give you exposure. It's like,
You don't need
you know
exposure.
who I am.
I'm Chris G.
Yeah, like what? Like what? You can give me 1,000 more followers? Oh, okay, all right. At that point, I was looking for the big dogs. Like, I had just won Evo now, especially like I only
Right.
want the big dogs.
That should open
A
the
couple
door
months.
up to the big boys.
Yep. A couple months later, boom. With the announcement of Marvel Infinite, that was where I'm not sure if that was the time, but I know they hit me up and they I forgot who it was. AJ, the previous manager for EG. Like, he hit me up and he's like, I think it's time. And then boom, I got the offer to be part of EG. So at this point, the funny thing is, like, there was always this running joke on me and Justin can't be on the same team.
Right.
There was always a running joke, like, it's me against Justin.
Right.
There's no way I could be with Justin. We can't be teammates. Justin was still on EG at the time. We're about to announce me. Justin leaves EG.
Wow. Any conspiracy theories come out of that?
It was pretty funny. Like, it was fate, and like, I finally like had a really good sponsor. I mean, we're not going to talk about fast forward to 2020, and bad things happen. But at the time, I
You
was
know,
like, wow, it's EG, like finally evil geniuses.
you know, e- this turned around for you. Obviously, you're finding yourself again. I'm assuming you're finding yourself. You're still playing your games. You're still training. You got your big win. I guess if you want to think about it, you proved a lot of people wrong because that's why they troll, I guess. And fast forward a little bit, Street Fighter 4 is now dying. That generation, that boom is finally starting to slow down. We're starting to get now Street Fighter 5, the new, I guess if you want to call them the new wave of fighting games that started, I believe it started off with, part Killer Instinct, and then Street Fighter 5 drops. It's a mixed bag. It's understandable. It's a brand new game. Some people love things about it, some people hate things about it, but it's still your job to compete. you know Now you're with a big sponsor like Evil Geniuses. Like, explain to us, like, is it easier for you now that you have EG behind you compared to previous teams? Did do at at the time, does EG take care of their players more, as in, like, let's get you out to more events, we're gonna cover your expenses more? Because by all means, everybody knows EG. They're mainly a big time player in FPSs and just gaming in general. FGC is still very small compared to their other gaming divisions, but what's it like being with a big time sponsor? What's it like, reaching that high of sponsorship?
Um, how do I put this? It, this is not gonna go well. It was the exact opposite of what should have been fantastic. When I joined the EG, they had just pretty much like rebranded themselves as a player-owned company. What this meant was the players, which is PPD
Right.
and Phil, they were gonna pretty much run the show. Yeah, I was getting my flights and stuff paid for like any other sponsor, but it seemed that the disconnect couldn't have been wider. And like at some point, I felt like I was just a placeholder for Justin. Like what should have been a big thing did not feel that way at all. I felt like a nobody on a team of what should have been greats. Because when they did the announcement video for me, they did the departure video for Justin. And the
Right.
announcement video for me was just, oh yeah, we got KrisG. That
It
was it.
should have been. It should have been. We got Chris G. Top level player. What you're basically saying is Justin should not have gotten a celebratory goodbye video because it took away from your accomplishment. I get what you're saying. I'm not
Even
shitting on
then,
Justin or
or
anything like that.
the timing should have been different. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And to me, what I thought I was joining was a prestige organization where you said, right, takes care of their players. I There was no
Well, yeah, because
communication.
again, EG is different compared to the previous teams that you mentioned, like VVV, AGE. Again, they're on a different level. At least it's perceived. You were there, so
When I joined, and even before that, right? Like people would tell me like, oh, EG's the real deal and blah blah blah. I'm not gonna mention any names and so on and so forth, but people used to say, hey, like they were better before. Like you're on the team now, this is the worst it's ever been. And I'm like, dog, what? Like, why? What's going? Like, I had no idea what was going on, and it seemed to me that a lot of people didn't know what was going on either. And I was kind of just like floating through the months and stuff while EG figured out what they were gonna do. And then they did the whole rebranding, and that flopped instantly. Then uh I guess PPD stood down, joined another team, and then uh they rebranded again, and then they became, what they are now, right? Uh
Was this Suits at the time running it, or was it still
no,
Gamers
it was
running?
gamers. It wasn't until Nicole stepped in, which is the person running the show now. I think it's with Peak Six and whoever else or whatever, right? Before they got bought out. And I
But why
thought,
the changes? Like why the changes? Was it because the fighting game scene was slowing down, coming to a slowdown, and they didn't know how to keep up with it, or they didn't have any new business ideas? Why such a shift? Why two rebrandings in as much time? What again? Why? Were
I'm
you privy to any of that information, or were you just doing you?
I'm not too sure. Uh, they, I guess at some point they thought that they could do it themselves. Like, hey, like maybe we could just, just call the shots and run things and see how it goes. Uh,
Right.
but then I guess they realized, you know what, like maybe if something bigger comes along and with more money and more ideas, and maybe we could get our players more things, because remember, I think at that point they even let go of their Halo team and their
Yes.
StarCraft players. They let go of everything, and like I thought I was joining something great, and it became this whole dog. Like, am I really just discount Justin? Like, and that's how I felt, and to a
Right.
certain
Right.
extent, they kind of made me feel that way. Um, and I would always tell them, like, look, I want to do more. I want more money. I want more jobs. I want to be more active in the scene. I want to make videos. I want to go to conventions. I was shut down for everything, and I'm just sitting there like, damn, like, why? And everyone that I would talk to, they'd be like, damn, man, I'm sorry for you, man. Like, you joined at the worst moment. And like
Wow.
at that point, I was like, look, I've joined so many teams. If I leave, I might be screwed. Like, I can't leave Evil Geniuses. Like, do you know what would happen if I leave Evil Geniuses? Like, I'm done. Like, I that is the biggest team, like, at the time, besides for like Echo Fox and stuff. But again, they're not gonna like someone like me, right? All I do is get in
Was
trouble and stuff like that. And Evil
was
Geniuses
there
did
any?
give me.
I'm sorry. Was there anybody listening to you? Your feedback. Hey, I want to do extra things. I'm not just a one trick pony. I want to be a content creator for you guys. I want to, take the flag with me if I have to go and promote it. Was there anybody listening to
Nope,
you? Excuse me.
nope. I've always, like, even when I had joined what you call it, Temple Storm, right? I was
Yes.
like, yo, like, I want more. I want to do more things and stuff. And I remember when we were even, discussing things, they were like, why should you get more than a Smash player? A Smash player that don't even win. And I was like, yo, don't disrespect me like that. Like, that's mad disrespectful. Like, it always seems to me that people look down on me and stuff because they know they can control me because of what I've written on Twitter and social media. And it, what makes things really sad is that I'm always told when I get shut down that, hey man, look, we took a chance, or hey man, like, we can't really do this because of so and so, and like, your past. And I've been told that so many times in my life. And with EG, especially like up like 2020 and everything that went wrong, that was pretty much it. Like, yeah, I was getting more like more money, but I still wanted to do more. And everything like with the whole I guess not to get to the political and stuff like that, but again, like with the stuff that happened and the whole canceling and blah 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 blah, like I I knew to some extent, not knew, but I felt worthless. And I remember the day that I was pretty much forced to go to Seattle. I was told, "Hey, if you don't come, you're fired." And in my head, I was like, "Look, like I've been loyal to you guys. Like I've been doing everything. I haven't gotten in trouble. I've been doing my best. I've been representing you guys well. I've been winning. I got top 8 Evo. Like why is this still happening?" The summit thing, I got kicked out of summit, all this stuff. And
Let me stop you there for a second
go.
before you go on. Let me just stop you there for a second. Like, we already know what happened. We know what you wrote on Twitter, and you're fast forwarding to 2020. But what you wrote on Twitter was 3 years, 3 years prior. I believe it was 2017. You know, you apologized. You said what you had to say. It was a moment in time when you were just angry. I understand. Everybody understands it. Everybody moved on. Fast forward to 2020. You're still with AG. And again, I read some of it. I read as much as anybody could. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on the subject. I have asked people, but but from my understanding is, you moved out to Seattle, and I don't know if there was a corporate restructure and everything where unfortunately you were the victim of basically just, you got the boot. You basically everything you worked for, and you're a stand-up citizen after everything that happened. It's very odd that they would take 3 years to do that. And when it did go down, like you said, I'm doing everything right. I'm winning. I'm being a good player. I'm being a good representative of the brand. Did you feel betrayed when they did that to you?
Yes, because that moment, again, they'd always use this term family. They're like, "Yo, Chris, we're gonna keep you for the log haul, man. Like, just be patient with us." When all the other teammates left and stuff, like they were like, like I feel really bad and it sucks that like K Brad's gone, PR Rog's gone, Justin's gone, but we got you and Ricky. It's like you guys are really cool family, and like we want to grow with you. And so that moment when that phone call happened and I was told to make the move to Seattle, I like when because Angie was there, and I didn't like I fought, like I broke, I literally broke that day. It was another moment in life where I broke. I was so angry, I was so frustrated, and I felt so used. Because I was pretty much told that like other players were more important than me, and that like all the stuff that I've gone through and blah blah blah, like this is why I'm here, and that I could only get this sponsor, and if I leave that there's no other sponsor that's going to want me. Like I'm being told these things, and it's like what am I supposed to do? Like what how much more do I have to suffer? So I was so confused, I was so hurt, and like I just believed in that maybe that person, that freaking COO, whoever the hell that guy is, that hey, maybe he does know what's right for me. And he did promise me things, and like Angie told me, she was like, don't, like, if you go, they're gonna fire you. Like she straight up told me that. She said it's only a matter of time. You're done. And I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave, but I didn't know what else to do. I felt like if I stayed, and even if I might have been happy, I'd lose it all. And I
Right.
again, like my greed, my hatred, my rage, it was all channeled into that one moment where I thought, maybe if I have money, I'll be happy. Like, this is the one thing I've been fighting. Maybe if I get more money, I can make more decisions, blah blah blah. So I took the leap, and then, like, the stuff happened as it happened, and they made an example out of me. And the worst part about that is that, cool. You see, and I'm saying cool because it's not cool, but to to lessen the blow, they could have been like, all right, you know what, like, we really didn't want to do this, but we have to make a decision, and I'm sorry, Chris G. He's now removed from Evil Genius. I might have accepted that. But the fact that, like, the higher ups in EG was like, yo, we have to destroy this guy and clear our name. And they literally called me like a woman harasser.
Right.
Like, I have never done anything like that in my life. The fact that, like, everything that happened the way it happened, like, dog, I never did anything. I literally never did anything to anyone. Like, I don't attack people. Freaking, I'm not racist, that's for sure. Like, but it just seemed that, like again, like, they didn't want me to succeed, and they felt like if I'm still succeeding in 2020, then that seems to be a disrespect to all women, to all black people, to all liberals, to all righteous speakers. I don't know. Like it felt like that was what was going on. Like, oh my God, if we don't remove this guy, we are the worst people on the planet. It's like, dog, it's
When
crazy.
it,
This is literally crazy talk.
it's April 2021. This happened in 2020. Between that time, you've been bouncing around, obviously. Did you, I mean, like you said, that guy, that COO, did you ever try to sit down with somebody in the higher ups to see why they did what they did, or did you just accept it and just moved on? You knew you lost, this is obviously a big blow for you. Like, how did again, did you try to reach
Nobody.
out to somebody from the team that's like, guys, I need a definite answer, because this is, quite frankly, a bunch of BS what you guys did to me. You could have amicably separated ways, but the way you went about it is, it's just, you destroyed me for no reason, when just a simple thank you for your services could have done.
Yeah, and that's, you see, they could have at least did that, right? The fact that they didn't even do that, you know, I I tried to get answers, you know. I even tried to hit up Ricky, no response. Freaking, all the higher ups, Michael, uh, Steven, uh, not Nicole, because obviously it was her decision,
Right.
right? And I assume that that wording was also hers. Um,
Right.
but again, like Phil, who I thought, I could actually trust, who told me to trust him, that this was going to happen, and even the night before I got fired, he told me to trust him. Like, this is the crazy. Like, he literally said, "Yo, like, I got this. Just listen to me. We are going to do this." And it didn't matter. So the fact, like, that happened, and then they pretended that, I don't exist. All right,
Right.
like, goodbye, Chris. He was never even part of EG. You know what I mean? Like, still to this day, I don't really have an answer. Like,
You
I wish
know,
I did. Like, maybe even some type of, like, freaking clarity, something.
You know, we just sat here, Steve. We're almost at the 3 hour mark. We discussed your career. You've experienced the highest of highs, the lowest of lows in this scene. Unfortunately, what happened with EG happened, and I'm fully on your side. They should have never, let you go like that. That's just wrong. But what's next for you? Is gaming even something in your radar for the future?
Right now, I'm in Vegas. In a span of 2 years, I've moved what three times in a year. In a year, I moved 3 times, and so I'm chilling here, right? I'm renting out a room in a house, and I mean, like this whole pandemic, all this crap's going on, and what the funny thing is that like people seem to forget everything that I did, like it was never a problem in the first place, and
Right.
I
Is there
just
any thoughts about
exist.
coming back to New York?
I don't know. Like I go to sleep and I wake up every day just thinking about disappearing. Just literally just shutting it all off and just leaving and just like like Mike Ross. Literally no one knows where I am. Just no one can connect with me, no one can call me, no one can reach me. Just go somewhere and just never look back. Um but again, we got to make money.
Right.
So I
Money isn't
stream.
everything, but it helps.
Yep. I stream and I work out because I feel like at least if I can't do what I do or be happy in a sense, I could at least look good. And maybe that'll do the whole look good, feel good thing. I try to psych myself out. I don't know. But other than that, it's
Dude,
like,
you know what, man? Low key, the FGC has a lot of, I don't want to call them gym rats, but man, there's a lot of people who really, like hitting the weights. You know what I'm saying? That is true. I, a lot of people are like, oh man, those guys are just full of BO and everything like that. And a certain extent is true, but man, there's a lot of gym rats in this scene.
I really be feeling like there's just a lot of anger and frustration being in the FGC. And I mean, lifting weights was literally one of the best outlets for that, especially if we can't compete and do what we do.
Right.
I mean, why not? Why not punch a bag? Like I don't know. It sounds weird and even funny, but I mean it is a way. It is an outlet. Other
The
than that, like I wouldn't know what I'd be doing.
If COVID didn't happen, how many events would you be going to? Would you try to be going out
If
to as many,
if COVID
or would
didn't
it have been a
happen,
second after? Right.
if COVID didn't happen, I think I'd probably have like $50,000 in cash to do whatever I wanted.
Wow.
If COVID didn't happen, I wouldn't have gotten fired, which means I would still be EG, which means I would be making more money than I've ever made in my life. But now it's funny too because people they mention reasons why I did get fired, but let's be real, it was killing two birds with one stone. There's no
Right.
events, they don't have to pay me anymore, and they get to look good. So,
They get to turn themselves face while you're the heel.
yep. And on top of that, I don't think that if COVID happened, that whole movement would not have happened. I really believe that. And if it did happen, it wouldn't have happened to the extent that it happened. Because I was EG when they tried to cancel me, what, less than a year before that? With the whole summit?
Right.
So I mean, I was still EG while getting canceled twice. The third time I got canceled is when I get canceled. Like, you know what I mean?
In a
It's
weird
corny.
way, it's three strikes and you're out, right?
Yep. Man. So yeah, I don't like to imagine what what life would be like if I had a lot more money, but I would have a lot more money.
You'd be putting up your feet, and sipping on margaritas, I guess, right?
Oh, for sure. I would have a house by now, actually. Not even kidding. I would definitely, might even have a pool. I could probably be in a pool right now.
Where would that house be?
No, probably Vegas,
Bermuda,
actually.
Bahamas.
Right? Actually, yeah, right? Just taking that disappearing thing to literal, right? Get like a house in Puerto Rico and just enjoy life. Like, I'd be enjoying life.
There you go, man. Hey, listen, Chris. I want to thank you very much for coming on with us. It was a great 3 hours. Boy, time flies when you're having fun, right? When you're just chatting.
I'm going to play League. That's what I'm going to do with my damn day.
Before we go, man, where could people reach you? What are your social media outlets? Where could your fans, reach out to Chris G, say hello? Let us know, please.
I mean, same thing. Just my name, NYChrisG. It hasn't changed. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. It's all NYChrisG.
And guys,
10 years in the making.
10 years in the making, and FGC, as far as I'm concerned, one of the top players in the last 15 years, man. You work hard. It showed. Unfortunately, what happened, but you know what? You accomplished a lot of things a lot of people in this scene say they could never do. They're part of it, but I'm sure a lot of people envy your talents.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And
of course, I appreciate being on.
No, thank you once again, man. And guys, that was another great episode of KPBcast. You can find the podcast over at Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. It will be premiering first on Twitch. .tv. We'll let you know when that happens, and later on record it on YouTube for video goodness of me and Chris. If you love watching people talk. And Chris, once again, man, I want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, my friend. Whenever you want to come back on just to BS with, with either me or Rodney, please let us know, man. Thank you very much. Have yourself a good day, and take care, my friend.
Peace out, guys.
This has been a KPB Media Works production.